Hi, friends. Thank you for joining us today on Food for Thought. This is Father Chandy, Sunil Chandy. I am the priest and rector here at Christ Episcopal Church in Westerly, Rhode Island, and this is a ministry out of Christ Episcopal Church, and we thank you for connecting with us today. Today is we're going to have a pre-recorded session because it is a session that will be aired at a later time in the week, and because we are so very pleased to have Susan Ogle, who will be with us today as our guest. And Susan is the currently on the Wesley Library and Wilcox Park board, and she is the board president from 2019 to 2021. She was a vice president. She also served as secretary of the organization. She was instrumental in hiring the interim and the current executive director, who is amazing. And then she also chaired the 125th birthday celebration and over 20 events in 2017. She is involved with strategic planning, and she's got a wealth of experience. She's founded the Ogle Training and Consultant group in 1992, focused on team building and change, presentation skills, leadership, and management topics. She has over 10 years experience in financial services and 10 years in career planning, including the Yale School of Management. And so she's got this whole wonderful and resume. And one of the things that she has done in relation to our Episcopal Church is that she also helped the Center for Reconciliation of our diocese, which is currently housed in the cathedral, in 2014, driven by the Episcopal Diocesan Convention and Bishop Knisley. And so she's done some really great work with the Episcopal Church. Although she's part of, I think, the Presbyterian Church in town, Dunn's Corners, which is an amazing church, and we of course love the partnership. But I'm just so very pleased to have Susan with us today. And Ben, would you please bring Susan on board? Hi, Susan.
Oh, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you. I want to thank you for being with us today. And this show will be actually aired later on, either this week or early next week. And just pleased to have you here with us. And I know that I'm so pleased because you've done so much work with the Episcopal Church and also doing great work within our community. Could you tell us a little bit about the work that you did with the Episcopal Church and the Center for Reconciliation first?
Sure. As my bio alludes to, one of my expertise areas is strategic planning. But it's also really helping nonprofit organizations to be successful. I joined a nonprofit in 2002 in Boston, a consulting firm there that focuses only on 501c3s to help them to be successful. There are about 125 to 150 consultants with this nonprofit, and we all volunteer our time. So my introduction to the Center for Reconciliation was back in, as you said, 2014, where I was part of a team and I was asked to work with the Center of Reconciliation in helping them to start up. They were just in the process of forming their board, and David Ames, who I'm sure you know David.
Yes, David, yes, of course.
Was one of our consultants, and so he was on the board of the new center, and so that he asked me to be part of the team that was going to be working with the center. So for about 7 to 8 months, I worked again with a team of 4, and our focus was really helping the new board to think about who they were, what did they want to do, their vision, their mission, and then to start encouraging them to start planning about, okay, how are they going to accomplish that? And what kind of organization, what kind of staff did they need? And as you well know, back then, there were a lot of questions about where the center was going to be housed. Was it separate from the Episcopal diocese, or was it going to be assimilated into it? And certainly Bishop Knisley was involved in all of that. So it was a wonderful experience. I worked with Linda Gentz as well. And after that, actually, Linda had asked me to facilitate a couple of the large diocese meetings up in Providence. So yes, I do know how to get to Providence quite easily.
Well, and I've got to tell you, Susan, the Center for Reconciliation, I came here in 2014 to Westerly from the Diocese of New Jersey. And that was one of the reasons why I came. I mean, I love the work that our diocese was engaged in work of reconciliation. I mean, the story, as I understood it, is that, we have a whole history of slave trade in Rhode Island. And actually, our Episcopal churches in Rhode Island benefited, if not directly, through the donations of people who were slave traders and involved in this. And so, what I thought, what was so attractive to me, was that you took this great challenge, this great mark that could actually be so derogatory and disempowering, and you said, and our diocese said, okay, we will claim that and we will transform it. Mm-hmm. I love that idea, and so I was so very pleased that and our cathedral was not active, right?
No, it was totally shuttered at that point. And actually, physically, it was unsafe to be in it.
Yeah. And so what it is like you have these two great things that many people would consider to be overwhelming challenges. And you kind of merge them together and said, what can God do with this? Mm-hmm. And out of this comes this beautiful effort in our diocese, and I think it's so inspirational, and I want to thank you for helping lead us in engaging in this transformative work. I mean, we don't know where it's going to take us, but I know,
right.
But I know that God's going to use it.
Well, thank you. And I find with every project I'm involved with is that I reap as much as the organization, so it's always a two-way street.
Yeah. One of the things that I know that, our church, Episcopal Church, and people in general are, whenever they come together to do something, it's kind of like herding cats together.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Everybody wants to go in their own different direction. Everyone has their own things that they're really interested in, and own different agendas that are, and some people feel like we might be moving too fast, and other people say we're moving too slow, and then there's some people who are disinterested. How do you get? I mean, as a strategic planner and a person who empowers people to kind of vision together, how do you get people engaged?
Well, I think more than anything, it's looking at each individual and where is their passion? Yeah. And really go with that.
Yeah.
Because the passion creates energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Needless to say. And so, I remember with the Center for Reconciliation Board, one of the biggest issues was, what do we call it?
Yeah.
You can imagine you've got, 6 people on a board at that point, and everybody has their different opinions. So you really have to listen, and encourage people to cooperate and build on each other's strengths and their passions, going back to that.
It's interesting. I was reading a passage from Paul, and he was talking to us. I was reading the passage, and he was talking about the body, and the gifts that people have. Ephesians, I think it was Ephesians, where he had a really great conversation about it, but then he kind of extends it into the Corinthian community, and you've got all these people who who are different, right? And yet
Absolutely.
they have to realize they're all part of one body.
Yeah,
And that's really, any work I would think of, any kind of organization, is to help, the individual passions to kind of meld into one unified vision, right? How does that
it
work?
is. It's really looking at priorities too, the vision. So looking out a couple of years, where do people want to be, and then how best to get there. So yes, and it's team building.
Yeah.
It's really developing trust within each other, and obviously communication is so critical.
Yeah. And you do that same work here in Westerly. I mean, you live here now in Westerly. I
I
mean,
did.
and so this is, I since moving to Westerly, I've originally come from, most recently from New Jersey. I've lived there most of my life, but originally from India, and
Yes.
yeah, and Westerly is such a wonderful community because it's got it's got so much. There's a diverse element, group of people here from different places, and economic situations, and they see the world differently. But there's also this small town feel about
Mhm.
West. Everyone's connected to one another. You know each other somehow, and so. How do you, and you're on the board with, and you've been doing great work with the Westerly Library and Wilcox Park, and it is a gem in
It is.
in our country. I mean,
Right.
it's so beautiful, and it's filled with so much history, and it's relevant right now. How do you help with the strategic vision of the library? How is that working?
Well, it's an ongoing, needless to say, with any strategic plan. I think that's an important point, is that the old thought about strategic plans is you put all this time into it, you create a document, you put it on the shelf, and you don't look at it again. Wrong. you know,
Yeah.
it's an ever-growing document, not just a document, but process. So I go back, I've been on the board for 9 years now, and it's really back 3 years ago was time to do a strategic plan for the library and park. And I was able to lead a team, and we had people from different parts of the community. For an example, Amy Grabowski, who is our emergency uh, manager, essentially, for Westerly. We had teachers. We had many different subgroups as well. And it's really having people come together to look at, okay, and also doing research on, what are other organizations, not necessarily libraries and parks, but what are they doing in order to remain on the cutting edge? Because I think that's really important in strategic planning is, how can you be the best of what you want to do? And so it's really guiding people through that process. And we did it in a 3-month time frame, which was amazing. And we had like 5 or 6 different working groups. So you're breaking people into small groups because you can't do it as a group of 25. And then pulling people together. And we were able to identify 6 priorities. And, in terms of first identifying our mission and our vision, and then really focusing on action plans relative to those 6. And I'm going to pivot to COVID,
Yeah. Yeah.
because in terms of COVID, what did we have to do differently? And I was able to put together a board new normal task force.
Mm.
So this was in May of 2020, and over a 3-month period, and again, this was a staff and a board task force, we were able to stop, take a look at, okay, what's happening in the community around us? So on a state level, both Connecticut and Rhode Island, because we are partially funded through Stonington as well as Westerly. So, and we had staff involved, but we had speakers come in to this task force, and we met every 2 weeks, and the speakers were from all different levels. For an example, Westerly Hospital, we had an emergency physician, we had a nurse practitioner, we had Amy Grabowski again, we had Chief Lacey, and we really took a look at, okay, what is the impact on our organization? This is that strategic planning, really. And what did we need to do differently? And we came forward with 6 different recommendations. And those are recommendations as president of the board that I have been guiding the organization through that since August of last year.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, and so part of that process is it helping the library be nimble through this particular challenge.
Absolutely. And fortunately, we have such a wonderful executive director, Bridget Hopkins, which I know you have had her here on Food for Thought as well.
Yes.
And the plus with her is she's a planner. She's a strategic planner. She had a COVID plan before the state library organization did. Oh, wow. So, so the board and the administrative staff have been partnering throughout this. And because of that, have really been able to maintain servicing our community.
That's beautiful. I love this. And so, so we will be coming out of the COVID-19 situation. I mean, hopefully, as more people get vaccinated, as and as people engage in the good work, and this virus will no longer exist. But what the lessons will be, the long-lasting effect of this challenge. What are some of the lessons that you've learned through this?
I think number one is tapping technology. I mean, look at what we're doing here today. Is that all of our programs were done pretty much in-house.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, the house is closed.
Yeah.
So to be able to be nimble enough, using your terminology, all of our programs now are virtual.
Yeah.
And the success of them has been tremendous. And coming out of the COVID is what we've learned is we're going to do both.
Yeah. We're
going to have the house open and we're going to be doing virtual. Yeah. So whether it's a cookbook club, whether it's a meeting, there are going to be options coming out and you could do either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think is really exciting. So I see that as one huge takeaway. The other, I think, is how nimble people can be. Is, I look at our staff and, overnight, they had to be set up in their homes to be able to service our patrons. And that was done so quickly. I mean, our patrons didn't even know what was happening behind the scenes. And so people can really be resilient.
Yeah. Yes.
And they certainly all have, and they're most appreciative with the cooperation from the board and the staff. So I see those 2 takeaways, that technology and people's resiliency.
Yeah. No, I think those beautiful comments, because and so one of the things that I think is important is that the library, that your board didn't shy away, didn't just close down the doors and just say, okay, we can't do anything. And right. And that's the great, I mean, that is the great challenge of for many organizations. It's like, do we just close down and just try to, hide away, or do we engage and but it's only through the engagement that we learn how adaptable and how resilient we are, and we can find the fruits or the gifts in even this challenge,
Oh, I mean, for an example, something that we're offering now are craft kits. And so whether it's for the teenagers or for the children, is instead of coming into the library, that you can, every month they have a different craft kit. And it's to create something very, very creative. And it's all the supplies that you need, or they give you a list of supplies. And people can be just as creative as they were, but in their own homes versus, being in the library or even in the park. We're just opening up now, so that I know there are going to be yoga classes outside in the park. The Virtue Fair is going to be happening in July. Pop's concert is going to be happening in September. So it's a real win-win that we're slowly but surely able to reopen because of the vaccines, and people obviously are feeling a little bit safer right now.
Yeah,
but definitely. So it's an exciting time.
It is. It's an exciting time. Now, so here's the thing, though. I mean, the lessons that we learned, because COVID's going to be over one day, right?
Well,
it will.
And then there's going to be another,
phase or
fade.
I know, but I also think that even through that, we're going to learn through this.
And absolutely.
So at the end of the day, so we were actually moving in a trajectory in the country, actually in the world, where print media and physical media was somehow, there was a transitional moment, and there's almost a pause in terms of that, and yet there's also an engagement in this technology. Now, I think it's really interesting, because I think that over the next, even after COVID, this strategic planning for what the library might mean for us. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got cut off at technology.
Right. No, you're good.
So what the library might mean for us. What does, I remember reading the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin when he was in high school, and the whole idea about him establishing the library system in order to educate the populace, to help educate people so that they would be able to do the work of democracy. And I tell you, whenever I come into a community, I always first place I always look is the library. I ask them to show me where the library is, because I know I'll be spending my time there, working on sermons or research or whatever. Right. And so Susan, where do you think we might be heading with all of this technology? I mean, especially with books that are physical, then we're moving off to books that are virtual. Where do you think we're going with all of this?
Well, I'd like to just kind of reflect back to 1894, which is when we were founded.
Yeah.
So at 127, 128 years, we were the cornerstone of the community back in 1894. We are now still the cornerstone. Libraries, and particularly because we're unique with our 15-acre Victorian park, is that we are that cornerstone for the community, is that libraries are not just books. That's the old concept of libraries, is that we are a gathering place. We have an art gallery. We have, this wonderful park that people can come and maintain their mental and physical and spiritual health.
Yeah.
Needless to say. So I see moving forward is we're just going to be expanding that. Is that, fortunately, I think we are coming out of this better and stronger, more creative, the use of technology. We have a makerspace.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been in our makerspace, and
No, I haven't, but
we have robots. We have robot clubs, and they compete nationally with each other. And I just see more and more of that happening because people are more comfortable with technology.
yeah.
So I see that we're the incubator.
Yeah.
And we're the ones that can reach out to people and encourage them to research, to be creative, to be exposed to literature, to art, to nature.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all part of our mission.
Yeah, I love that, because if the original, and I have to read the mission for Westerly Public Library, but if the mission of public libraries in general to educate the populace, to help them be able to engage in the work of democracy, then the idea that even education, all forms, that artistic and working in technology, anything that helps us expand and be creative, that helps us to be educated for our work in the community.
It does, and that's certainly what we offer. Yeah. And we'll continue to offer that.
Wow. Susan, I want to thank you for being with us and having this wonderful conversation with me. You've just given me so many different insights, and I just want to appreciate your work, and I hope that you will continue to do it and will be blessed in it, and know that we're right across the street from you.
We are, yes.
and you've got a partner in us. If you ever need us for anything, we're here to help out. We just in our facility, we're now hosting literacy volunteers.
Yes.
Yes. And so they're going to do some work, and we're going to continue collaborating with them, because we believe literacy is so important for our community, not only in our young people, but an adult community. And so the work that you do in the library is so important for the transformation of a community, and that's what we're all about.
It is. It is. Great partners we are.
All right. Well, God bless you, and thank you again for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Folks, just a wonderful conversation with Susan Ogle. She is the board president of the Westerly Library in Wilcox Park. And so we're just so grateful to God for having people like Susan here in our community, helping our community to be the best it could be. Now, as our time is ending, let us join together in our tradition, which is saying a prayer. This is a prayer that has been adapted from one written by Bishop Thomas Brown of Maine. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Jesus Christ, you traveled through towns and villages, curing every disease and illness. At your command, the sick were made well. Come to our aid now in the midst of the global spread of the coronavirus. Heal those who are sick with the virus. May they regain their strength and health through quality medical care. Heal us from our fear, which prevents nations from working together and neighbors from helping one another. Be present with those in authority who are making hard decisions. Support the medical professionals, emergency responders, counselors, and caregivers. We ask this all in your name, Jesus. Amen. Join with me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Friends, go in peace to love and serve God. Spread the light of Christ, the light of hope and joy into the world around you. The world needs it right now.
Thanks for watching. Did you know that you can join Christ Church from anywhere in the world? If you're feeling connected to what we're doing, email us today at communicate@christchurchwesterly.org.